Hi, everyone, and welcome to Orford Mining's live event. I'm pleased to introduce their president and CEO, David Christie. He will take us through a presentation followed by a Q&A session. As a reminder, you can submit your questions on the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of your screen at any point during the presentation. As always, the summit is being recorded and will be available on six.com to watch afterwards. So without further ado, I'll kick things off to you, David.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Orford has had a very exciting summer. We've done a lot of things on 3 different projects, our West Raglan nickel project, our Qiqavik gold project, and our brand new Nunavik lithium projects. It's been a very exciting summer. So we're going to walk you through the presentation here, what we've done, what we've seen. Next slide, please. So just to remind you all, we have sort of 4 key pillars of the company. Our Qiqavik gold district play, 439 square kilometers, 100% ours. This summer we drilled 34 RAB holes. I'll walk through what we've done there. The West Raglan nickel project, this is the foundation of our company, 707 square kilometers of land. We're in a JV with Wyloo Metals of Australia. They're earning into that project. We flew an airborne survey there and did some ground magnetics. Then our Nunavik lithium project, 557 square kilometers of land, 100% owned by us. No royalties, close to the deep sea port. Took 660 samples of pegmatites this summer, so a very exciting project as well. And the gold copper project. So the Jetel Eagle being the cornerstone of that in the South Gold Zone, which we believe we're going to get to a resource on very soon. We have approximately 1,964 square kilometers of land in Quebec. We are the largest landowner in the Cape Smith Belt. Next slide, please. This just gives you a quick view of where our projects are and some quick summaries on the projects. We also own a couple of royalties in Colombia. Just watch those in the future. Outcrop Gold is doing some good work on the Santa Ana. Next slide, please. Just our share price performance over the past little while. It's been a pretty tough couple of months recently. Market downdraft on gold stocks and some selling in our stock. Currently sit around a $20 million market cap. We should be higher, and we're working on that. Retail share, you can see the split between institutional and retail, and Alamos Gold being a 27.9% shareholder of ours. Next slide, please. So when you look at our projects in Nunavik, it's an area that has 2 nickel mines that have been operating there since the end of the 90s, the Raglan nickel mine, and then later came the Nunavik nickel mine, which is owned by Jinjin Mining. Deception Bay is a port where they ship out their concentrates from. It's open year-round. We have staked lithium ground all around the camp. We are the first movers on this. We got the best places, and we believe we have very good properties there. We have a camp at Camp Qiqavik, an airstrip, a stockpile of fuel. We're well situated. We know what we're doing in there. We've been there a while. Next slide, please. Just to give you a view of what's happened in this area since we staked our lithium claims. So if you look at the project, first of all, Orford had first moving advantage. We staked the red properties you see there for lithium. After us, a number of groups came in and sort of blanket staked around us. Then you can see our Qiqavik gold project. Again, first mover advantage there. We staked the entire gold belt, and we continue to add to that belt. And then a couple of years ago, Cobalt came in and basically took any available land that was available between us and Glencore and Nunavik Nickel. And they're looking, of course, for nickel copper sulfides. Again, we were there before them. So we have first mover advantage on the lithium side and on the gold side. And we were there pretty early on the nickel side as an explorer. Basically, the only other guys there were the Raglan guys and the Nunavik nickel guys. So we have a great advantage in this property area. Next slide, please. First project we're going to look at is Qiqavik. You can see the map here. We sort of concentrated on about 5 distinct areas this year. Esperance on the far western side of the project, the central intrusive area, the Anik and Eric trends, and the Gerfo trend. Drilled 34 rotary air blast holes, totaling 2,400 meters. And we completed 32 line kilometers of IP to help in our drilling. Next slide, please. We're waiting on most of the assays from our drilling still. You can see this map here. We did a structural interpretation of the project during the winter months to help us target the drill holes this summer. And that really helped us as far as doing some structural interpretation, not just for our drilling, but also for our prospecting and mapping efforts on the project. Next slide, please. This is one of our successes this summer. This is the Gerfo East gold discovery. It's an outcrop. This is something we don't often find on this project. We find a lot of boulders that are mineralized, so we're quite excited about that. Grades of up to 32 grams per ton at surface, and a number of other high grades, 24 grams. So we're very excited about what's going to happen here. We've drilled 6 RAB drill holes in this area. Much of this area, or parts of this area, were covered in snow in previous years. So we've had consistent snow cover in this area. So that melted and allowed us to map out these veins at surface, which seem to have some good strike length potential and some good mineralization potential. We hit these veins, we believe, in the drilling. So we're really excited to see those assays come back. Next slide, please. This is another one of our successes this summer. This is the central intrusive area. Again, we discovered some new veins here that are in shears. There's anchorite veining and alteration, some sulfides cutting through that with galena, pyrite, and arsenopyrite in those. And then, of course, we've got some grab samples of some quartz veins in the area that graded up to 30.8 grams per ton. So we're quite excited about the RAB drilling we did here. We did 3 holes here. And we're, again, waiting on these sample results to come back. So on the gold side, so far, very exciting summer from these 2 areas alone. And, of course, we drilled the Anik and the Eric trends as well. This is the Esperance zone. In 2017, we drilled a number of holes along this trend. We discovered what is about a 4-kilometer long sulfide trend with copper in it that's copper bearing and gold bearing. It's about 4 kilometers long. This summer, to the south of that, by about 200 meters, we discovered a new zone in outcrop. We've done channel sampling of that across a 5-meter width of that exposed mineralization. So you can see there were some conductors there as well around this area here that I'm circling. So we're quite excited about the results we're going to see from this as well. We're seeing, semi-massive chalcopyrite and mineralization with pyrrhotite. So very exciting mineralization. We're really looking forward to seeing these results. And there's a lot of other conductors here that have not been tested. Moving to the Nunavik critical minerals area. This is the northern trend of our properties that we staked for lithium. You can see the radiant electrode and ampere have now merged. We've added more claims in there. We also added the cathode property up near Deception Bay. We're seeing very good things on these properties, and we increased the size of our property position by 22% since we first announced our staking in February. So we're continuing to be enthused and excited about what we're seeing on these properties, and we're going to walk through some more slides here. Next slide. Again, this just shows you some of the lake bottom sediment sample analysis that we've found in the government files before we went staking. But you can see some of these numbers are quite exciting. We've gone in here and done a lot of work to follow up on these results. Moving to the next slide. So before we went into the summer, we did some remote sensing work. We're using satellite imagery, and that helped us identify more pegmatite targets to help us in our exploration so that we didn't waste as much money flying around looking at pegmatites that aren't what we want to see. So that really helped us, and we found a lot of pegmatites, and it really aided our work. Example here, we've taken 640 samples, including some channel samples, which are shown in this slide here of pegmatites. You can see some of the pegmatites on this map here, the white rocks on the left slide. The guys on the right are examining a pegmatite on the right side. So pegmatites basically everywhere. We found a lot of them, all very different kinds of pegmatites. Many of them are quartz-bearing, plagioclase-bearing feldspar pegs with lots of green muscovite and tourmaline. Others see beryl-added and apatite and more tourmaline and green muscovite. So we're seeing a lot of variety in the pegmatites we've seen, and we've taken a lot of samples, and we're waiting on those to see the quantity of lithium in these pegmatites. You can see here we had 1,534 field stations that we stopped at and did some geological work. 580 of those were pegmatites. We've taken grab samples of 621 samples, Again, almost 500 of those are in pegmatites, and then another channel samples on one of the pegmatites of 19 different samples. So a lot of work's been done that way. In some areas, we decided to use till sampling to help us fine-tune the search for the high-grade lithium pegmatites that we see in the lake bottom sediment samples that the government's used. And so we had 550 till samples in those areas. So all these samples are now in the lab, and we're waiting on those results. So we're quite excited about the potential of finding LCT pegmatites on these properties. This is just an example of one of the pegmatites on our Qiqavik property. You can see the big tourmaline crystal there, the quartz, the feldspar, the green micas. It's looking pretty good. Next slide. This is that one of the samples, the area where we did the channel sampling, about 9 meters long, this outcrop, and it looks really good. The samples were pretty spectacular looking, lots of coarse grain mineralization. The other critical mineral area we have, of course, is our West Raglan project that we are in a JV with Wyloo. Wyloo is earning into our project. It's a very large project, over 700 square kilometers of land. This is the foundation of the company and how it started as a private company years ago. Wyloo is earning in. This summer, they decided to fly an airborne survey over most of the southern portion of the project, as well as do some ground mag on a number of the known zones to help map those out. Next slide, please. This is what we found last summer. We did a number of drill holes, discovered a new zone at Boomerang, a new zone at Big Potato, or as we now call Little French Fry. Next slide, please. You can see the southern area here of the project that we flew. So we're looking for the Nunavik nickel style mineralization down there. The northern trend tends to be the Raglan style mineralization. So we flew a VTEM survey. This will help us map out conductors, and 1,783 square kilometers of VTEM we're flowing, as well as about 120 line kilometers on the ground for magnetics on Boomerang, Beverly, and Petite French Fry area to help map out those sulfide areas. Now, last but not least is our extensive land holdings in the Jetel area of the Abitibi. You can see these big east-west trending structures that cut through here. The one that we're close to is called the Casa Berardi Break. In the late 80s, this was a big staking rush around the Casa Berardi mine. It's a huge prolific gold trend. We are sitting right next door to Agnico Eagle's original gold mine. I actually worked for Agnico Eagle back in the 80s and worked on some of these same properties. There hasn't been much exploration on the Agnico Eagle trend since the 80s. And that's one of the reasons we looked at this area and we staked some ground in this area. And then we picked up the Jetel Eagle project in 2020 and 2021. Next slide, please. The Jetel Eagle project is the centerpiece of our projects there. It's a project we are earning into. We can earn up to 100% on this project. We've now drilled off and defined what we believe is a near surface mineralized body, the South Gold Zone, and we've now discovered the North Gold Zone as well. The mineralization is pretty continuous. The grades are variable from low grade to 1.5 to 2 grams, all the way up to 28 gram material. So we get some pretty good, interesting things across the mineralization here. It's early days. You can see here on the long section, the consistency of that mineralization at the shallow level where we've drilled a lot of holes. The next step will be to go in here and drill infill holes in there to see if we can get to a resource and to do some step outs to depth. So that'd be the plan for this coming year, to see if we can find more of that 4.1 grams over 15 meters that we saw in hole 4 as we move to depth and along strike, and we do that infill. We have really good local community involvement in the town of Saluit and in the Qiqavik region of the Nunavik region of Quebec, and we work hard to maintain that. We also work hard in the Abitibi to maintain similar relationships with the communities there. So I think, these are important things to watch. We try to employ as many groups or as many locally owned groups as possible. Next slide, please. So when you look at our company, first of all, you have to think about, we were first movers on the lithium in Nunavik. We got the best properties that were available to stake. We're the first ones on the ground there this summer. We've taken a lot of samples. We're waiting on those results. Nickel sulfide project, we were the first explorer in the area after the two miners, and we continue to explore that project with our partner at Wyloo Metals. And then our Qiqavik project, we are a first mover in Nunavik for gold. We found a regional district-sized gold project that has gold all over it, high-grade gold. We found some great showings this summer at Qiqavik with Grifo East and the Central Intrusion. So I think very exciting things are coming out of that this summer. And then, of course, in Chatel, in the Abitibi, we've got the Chatel Eagle project, which we believe is one of the better areas to explore in and the most overlooked area in the Abitibi. So we're quite excited about that. And we sit right next door to the Maple Gold Agnico Eagle JV, where Agnico is spending $18 million to explore. So we're excited to be there. We think it's going to be a great project this coming winter. So, you know, strong strategic shareholder support with Alamos Gold at over 27%, massive land position in two underexplored gold districts with Qiqavik and the Chatel area. Large new land tenure covering very strong lithium targets in Nunavik. Now, those Nunavik lithium claims, that's the first time anyone's ever walked on those claims. This brand new exploration had no exploration for anything before. So this is exciting stuff. Strong financial technical partner on the West Raglan nickel project, which has the potential to be another Raglan. And of course, we're in Quebec, which is one of the best places to explore. That's all I have for today, but we think we have some very exciting results coming forward in the coming months from our Qiqavik and our lithium projects in the north, as well as seeing what our airborne survey did at West Raglan. So that'll come out in the next month or so as we get assay results and results from the geophysicists back on those projects. And then we'll be planning our Chatel Eagle project drilling this coming winter.
Thank you, David, for the presentation. And just as a reminder to the audience, this is the Q&A session, so you can submit your questions in the chat in the bottom right-hand side of the screen. I'll just type in here so everyone can see that. We did have some pre-submitted questions, so we'll go through those first while questions trickle in. First question was from an individual and CEO. Wondering about closing the season up north while others in the area are still going on. Are all your objectives completed? And what about the lithium projects?
So I guess you're talking about some of the other lithium project owners that have staked around us. They didn't get there till almost August, so we were there for well over a month before they got there. We've taken 600 samples or over 600 samples for lithium. We're waiting on those assays. It's hard to do the next step, which would be, drilling or more detailed mapping of pegmatites until we know which place to spend the money. So if we get results in the next week or two, we can still send a crew back in there to do more work. Winter is closing in on there pretty quickly. There was snow there on Monday morning. So time's getting short up there. And typically, if you continue to operate programs into September, you start to waste money.
Okay, thank you. I'm wondering about the fall. I think you wrapped up on that. If we're missing anything about fall plans, feel free to address them. And do you own your RAB drill? An individual's asking, what do you plan on doing with the RAB for the next couple of months?
We do not own drills. We contract drillers who are professionals and do that work well.
And what is your view on adding further promotion or marketing to the Orford story?
So we are currently in a beefing up our marketing and promotional part of our story. My view, the most important thing is having good assets, good people on the ground, keeping them safe. These are where the money goes to first. And after that, when there's money remaining, then you can beef up marketing and promotion, and that's what we're doing. So we're beefing up that. We're going to two of the biggest gold shows in the world in the next couple of weeks. These are not always the things you can get invited. You have to get invited to these shows. So we're going to both of those, the Beaver Creek Precious Metal Summit and the Denver Gold Show. And so that's going to be a bit of promotion there. And we will continue to do more things. We just signed up with Renmark. We announced that earlier this week. So they'll be helping us market our story and getting it out there. And there's other things in the works as well.
Excellent. Would you ever consider spinning out the critical minerals properties?
This is something we have talked about, and taking the West Raglan and the lithium projects and putting them in a separate company is something we will continue to look at as we move forward.
So we got our first question in the chat here. Do you expect more flow-through financing later this fall?
I'd say at this point, I'm not sure. If our share price is right and the opportunity comes up that makes sense, we'll take advantage of it. I learned a long time ago that if there's someone handing out cookies, you take two as an junior explorer. So we'll watch the market, see where we are, and go forward that way.
An individual posed a couple questions in one, so I'm just going to read it verbatim here in the chat. Do you have contingency plans if, for example, the lithium results are not as expected and/or the macro turns to make the proposed demand less urgent?
So you're asking whether if our results are not good or no one cares about lithium suddenly, do we have other plans for lithium? Well, the fact that we are a multi-commodity explorer is sort of our hedge on one of the commodities not working out so well or one of the projects not working out so well. We are not a one property wonder like some of our peers that someone was asking about earlier. We have other things going on. And I think that's the benefit of Orford versus some other peers, that we have more than one thing going on. And we have some very good projects that have some huge value in them.
Jeffrey's wondering, how do you plan for shareholder value appreciation during the same time frame as shares are maturing?
I'm not sure I follow what that means. Shares maturing, sorry.
Yeah. Impending shares maturing and coming to market over the next few months.
No, he's talking about the 4-month hold coming off. Well, that's one of the reasons we're ramping up the marketing, as part of it, just to make sure that there's more buyers out there as we move forward.
Great. I'll give it a couple seconds for any more questions, but that's all we have in the audience for now. So if you want to have any last closing remarks, David, feel free.
Sure. I think when you look at Orford and what we've done over the past year, we've continued to add new commodities to the company. We've got one of the best field teams that exists. The properties we've picked up have been one of the best things we've done for the company. When you look at picking up the West Raglan project, picking up the Qiqavik project, and picking up the lithium projects, no one brought those to us. We did this ourselves. So these are things that we decided to do and went and did them. Same thing with Chattel. We went into that area and looked at the area and compiled information and picked up the best projects we could find in that area. And I think the projects we have a lot of value. Chattel, we're moving towards a resource on the Chattel Eagle project this winter. The Qiqavik project, we continue to make new discoveries there, and we think this is very exciting. I think you're going to see some exciting things come out of the drill results there. And then West Raglan, the potential there for multiple nickel deposits that mirror what they have at Raglan is enormous. And of course, on the lithium side, it's a big unknown because no one has a lithium mine up in that area of the world. But we think we have some of the best lithium ground in that part of Quebec. It's very early days. We've done a pile of sampling. We've done lots of mapping. We'll wait and see what our samples show. But we're quite excited about what we have there. And it'll take more time to understand that area and to understand what's there. But we think we have a lot of really good land, well over 550 square kilometers of land just dedicated to lithium exploration. So this is something that I think you're going to see some exciting news going forward.
Perfect. Well, that's it for now, David. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the audience that participated and asked the questions. If you did tune in a little late, the recording will be available probably within the next few hours, so stay tuned for that. But thank you for your time, David.